Okay, let's talk next about the spelling and grammar checking that is available within Word. There's actually several different ways that it's spell checking your document. First of all, everything that you type, it is comparing to a dictionary. So there's a dictionary built into Word, and it's comparing everything you type to that and looking for mistakes. They may not always be mistakes. They may just be things that Word does not have in its dictionary. First, before we look at the standard dictionary one, let's look at something that Word does that's known as autocorrect. Autocorrect is basically a way that Word automatically fixes very common problems as they happen, rather than just telling you that it's there. So if I were to say, my friend, and I'm going to go ahead and spell friend wrong, I'm going to do E-I-N-D rather than I-E-N-D. And you'll notice that when I hit space, that I and that E just automatically flipped. That is autocorrect. Now, maybe the word wasn't supposed to be friend. Maybe it's a breed of dog that no one's ever heard of, and so I was actually supposed to be EI. I can undo that just by coming and resting my mouse on it, and you can see that I get this little lightning bolt underneath it. If I click on that, I can say change it back, and I can even say stop doing that. Like, I will use this word regularly, and it's not supposed to be that way. It's not what you think. So in this case, it was exactly what it thought, so I'm going to leave it the way it was. But yeah, anything that's common, like not capitalizing an I, or switching letters that are very commonly switched, autocorrect will try to catch those as best it can. Now, another way that it's going to catch spelling errors is if it's not something common enough to autocorrect, if it notices it but it wants to check with you on it, then it's going to underline it. So you can see if I just write a bunch of nonsense here, I get this little red underlines telling me, okay, this is spelled incorrectly. Now, sometimes, like I said, it's just a word that it doesn't have in its dictionary. For example, I have a friend named Whoman, and if I come in here and said Whoman called, you'll see that it goes ahead and it underlines Whoman with that red underline because it doesn't know the word from its dictionary. Now, another type of underline you'll see sometimes is a green wavy underline, and that is for improper grammar, or at least suspected improper grammar. So if I say, me and my friend went to the park, you'll see that when I go away from that it's going to underline me and my friend because grammatically that should be my friend and I. So if you see the red underlines or the green underlines, red is spelling, green is grammar. So what do I do now that I see what it is? How do I take care of it? So let's write a sentence wrong. I'm going to say, Whoman and I went to a movie. Now, I went ahead and purposely misspelled movie by swapping that I and the E at the end of it. I'm going to come here and I'm going to do a right click on movie. Now on a Mac, if you're using a trackpad, the right click is just clicking the trackpad with two fingers at the same time. If you're using a mouse, there should just be a standard right click by clicking on the right side. If for some reason your mouse or trackpad doesn't do that, you can also just press Control on your keyboard while clicking, and that will be like a right click. So here we have right click, and it gives me some options of things it thinks it might have I might have meant. So maybe you meant movie, right? Which I did. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, yeah, movie. I click on that and it switches it back for me. Now I'm going to right click on Whoman. And it's saying, oh, did you mean human or houseman or Holman? No, I didn't. I meant Whoman. That's spelled correctly. So I've got some options below here. I can either ignore it, in which case it'll get rid of that underline and just be fine with that word in that space. I can choose ignore all, which means it will ignore that word Whoman throughout the entire paper, throughout the entire document. Or I can click add, and if I click add, it will actually add that word to the dictionary so it will never again think it is misspelled on my computer. Okay, so if it's a friend of mine or a name of my company or something like that, then I usually want to add it to the dictionary so that it didn't always find it as misspelled. Same things hold for the grammar. If I do a right click on that, you'll see that it suggests that I do my friend and me, which is actually wrong. It should be my friend and I. But so always use your brain, not just the autocorrect, or I could ignore it. Now, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to switch back movie to be spelled wrong because I'm going to show you the way that rather than doing it one at a time like I just did, you can also have it go through your entire paper. The way that I do that is I come up here to Tools and then Spelling and Grammar. and you'll see that it's going through one thing at a time. It says, okay, well, that's not in the dictionary. I could add it, but for demonstration purposes, I don't do that. So I'm going to say ignore that. Okay, movie, and it's got some suggestions there. So I can say, okay, yeah, that's the right one. Select it and then hit change, and it'll change it. And then it's saying, okay, so you want this to say my friend and me. And I'm going to say, no, actually, I don't. So I'm going to I can edit it in here or up here. I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to say my friend and I. And then change, and you'll see it switches that back. Now, it's telling me at this point that it's gone through and it's completed all the spelling and grammar, so I can just move on. Now, while this is a fantastic tool, and you definitely should use it anytime you're doing a written document, it's not perfect, so it in no way should substitute for rereading and proofreading your own work, or having friends or family also proofread your work. It doesn't have any way to catch when something is spelled correctly but used incorrectly. For example, if I said we went over there, you'll see that in this case grammar check caught it, so that's good. But oftentimes, maybe I said we saw you at the park. Now, I meant to say at the park, but I accidentally wrote part. But the problem is part is also another word that is correctly spelled. So it's not going to be caught by the spell check. So definitely make sure that you're still proofreading your work, and it's always a good idea to have a second party proofread it as well before you submit it.